Welcome back to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this class, I'll be showing you how to sew this beautiful cowl kaftan with placket, as you can see right there, front and back. So this cowl kaftan, as you can see, is looking so gorgeous and beautiful. It's something you can use for any occasion of your choice, gorgeous and prestigious, as you can see. Okay, so right now we'll be jumping into this class without wasting much time. This is actually a cowl abaya kaftan, as you can see, but here it has beautiful designs. Okay, so we tried making it look beautiful. So if this is what you want to learn, please stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Welcome back to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this class, I'll be showing you how to sew this trendy bubu cowl kaftan. You are seeing right there on the thumbnail. So right here, I'm making use of 3 yards of my scuba fabric. So this is a quality scuba. It's not all that too stretchy. It's a thick, somehow thick but little stretchy. Okay, so you can also use shining jersey. Is a new fabric. You can also use scuba. You can use lycra to sew this, okay, to have that cowl effect. So I have 3 yards here, and I'm working with another scuba fabric of 1 yard. I just want to make a little combination, okay, on the neckline, as you can see right there on the thumbnail. So to begin this tutorial, we are going to first create a plackets. Okay, so in creating my placket right now, I have my fabric. I'm going to place my fabric on fold on one side. Okay, so I'll just place it on fold this way, and I'll be determining the part that is our center front. Okay, so I'm just trying to place it on fold right now. So actually this fabric, you might not really use the whole of 1 yard for it. You can even make use of half yard, but to be at the safer side, I'll advise you get yourself a yard if you're making a combination like I'm making. But if you're not making a combination, if you're using the same fabric, you can get yourself 4 yards of scuba fabric, so you'll be able to have the placket, or 3.5. So here I'm creating the border line. So this part is on fold. So on this part now, I'm going to place my tape, and I'm going to measure 8. Alright, so after making my border line, I've actually made some lines, and I'm going to explain to you what I did right here. So here is my border line, which I just made after folding my fabric. So I believe you are seeing the line. Okay, so my fabric here is on fold, as you can see. Now I'll place my tape on the border line I made, and I'm going to measure my back length. My back length is 15. I added 1 inch to it. So whatever your back length is, add 1 inch to it. So the 1 inch I added is to stitch half an inch up and half an inch down. Okay, because this placket, I want it to rest at my back length. So if you want it longer than your back length, you can add 2 inches or as you desire. Okay, so it depends on where you want the placket to be. So I just want this placket to be at my back length. So my back length, like I earlier said, is 15, and I took 16. So after I did that at 16, I wrote a line at that 16 inches. You can see my line right here. On this line, I measured 3.5 inches. Okay, 3.5 inches, I made a mark. And on this line, I measured 8 inches, and I made a mark. Then I'm going to rule this line. Okay, so you can see me, I rule this line up to this point. Okay, so I'm going to cut out what I have right here. I'm going to cut out, so I'm cutting out my back placket. This is going to serve as my back placket. So before I go ahead to cut, I'm going to make the neckline for the back. So for my neckline right now, from the folded edge, I'm going to measure 3.5. Please, 3.5. So I mark my 3.5 as my neckline, and what is left from my 8 inches is 4.5. Okay, so this 4.5, that is what we are going to use to cut our front placket. Okay, so now the width of my neckline, I'm making use of 1 inch for the width. So this is 1 inch for the width, and I'm going to connect with my pattern curve. So the normal way you connect with your pattern curve, you just go ahead and connect with your pattern curve. So right here, I'll just do my normal slope, shoulder slope. So my shoulder slope here, I will not go too much. I'm using 1/2 inch because this part, I will still slant it when we are going to cut the other part. So I just used 1/2 inch. Okay, just a little slope from that point, 1/2 inch. So I'm going to cut what I have. So please ensure you have your pins. So I'll just pin it down now. So coming over to the front right now, I've already placed my fabric on fold, as you can see. So fabric is on fold. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to start marking out the front placket. So I'll just make a border line also. So once I've made my border line, next I will do is to take the length of my placket. But first of all, the width of this placket, remember for the front, we are going to attach this placket on this width. So I'll just take the measurement of what I have on the placket, on the shoulder line here. Like I told you, it's 4.5. So I'll just measure 4.5, so that by the time we sew 1/2 inch, we have 4 inches as our placket. So from this point, I'm going to measure the length of this placket. So I really want this placket to be under my bust. Okay, this is my under bust at 14. Then I'll just add 2 inches to it, so I'll be able to sew I will be able to sew in the up and the down, or you can even add 3 inches. So it depends on where you want it to be. So I take the measurement again from the shoulder line. I have 14 inches. That is if you want this to be on your under bust. But me, I want it to be below my under bust. Okay, so let me do 16 inches, which I marked already. That is where the placket is going to be, at 16 inches. So the width of this placket is 4.5. Okay, for up and for down. So I'll just make a mark and I'll connect it with a straight line, as you can see right here. So I'll now go ahead and pin. So make sure you pin. I'll pin and cut. So I'm cutting 2 times of it. So I'll first cut this one, place it on the other part, and cut as well. So I'll just go ahead and cut my okay. So I'll bring it back on this and I'll place it here. Then I'll cut once again. Alright, so we are done with this. So I'll just take off my pins. This will be on the front neckline. So this front neckline, the folded edge is going to form the neckline. So our placket is going to overlap this way. Okay, once we sew it, this and this is going to overlap to form that V neckline. All right, so my back is ready, and you can see how we cut it, and my front is ready in two pieces, as you can see. So I'm going to set it aside. So next we want to do is to come with our main fabric. So this is 3 yards of scuba fabric, like I earlier said. So I'm going to fold it by 2. So if I fold it by 2, I will have 1 1/2, 1 1/2. Okay, so I folded it by 2, as you can see right here. So once I fold it by 2, having 1 1/2, I'll fold it again to get my center front. So I folded it again to get my center front. So this is my center front, and this is my center back. So we are going to start marking out the cowl on this dress. So right now I've folded it again, and this is my center front. For back and front is on fold. Okay, so I mark my border line, and from this border line it will serve as my shoulder, and I'm going to measure from that point to my waistline. So you can see the mark I had for my waistline. My waist is 29, so I've already marked it at 29. Okay, so from the shoulder, once again, when you fold it the second time, you will have 26 inches. Okay, so that will serve as the sleeve length. So at this sleeve length of 26 inches point, I'm going to step down from here by 1 1/2. So I'll step down by 1 1/2, and I'm going to connect this all the way to the neckline. So my neckline here, remember the neckline we used was 3 1/2. So I'll just connect it to form the cowl. So from here, I'll just position my ruler to that point. Can you see that? So that will serve as the shoulder slope. So now I'm going to come back to the hip. So on the hip line, I'll step up on the hip line to connect the cowl. But before I connect that cowl, I'm going to take the measurement of my hip circumference, divide by 4. So my hip circumference divided by 4, I'm working with 12 1/2. Okay, I'm working with 12 1/2, and on this 12 1/2, I'm going to add 3 inches. So my hip circumference divided by 4, I added 3 inches to it. So I'll come all the way to the hem. I'll also do the same thing on the hem. I'll measure my hip circumference divided by 4, and I'll add 3 inches to it. So at this point of 3 inches, I'm going to rule a straight line from I'm ruling my straight line from that hip line. I'll just make a straight line going over to the hem. Okay, so once that is done, the next thing I will do, from this hip line, I'll step up by 3 inches. Okay, and then I'll draw a straight line of 3 inches. So at this point, I'll just connect the cowl. Okay, so from these 3 inches, I came out on a straight line. So I measure another 3 inches, and then from there, I'll just connect the cowl. You know how we do that. I'll connect the cowl, and then I'll come over from that 3 inches again to another 3 inches here, to another 3 inches mark, or let me say 2 inches. I'll just connect the cowl design. Okay, to the hem. So right there and then, I'm going to cut what we had before we proceed. So I'm going to cut the cowl design first. Okay, but I will also, let me cut the cowl design, then we can now separate them for front and back. So I'm cutting now on the shoulder line. So once I get to the shoulder line, please make sure you hold it down with your pin. I'll just go ahead and cut it this way. Then I'll come over to the cowl part of it. I'll just go ahead okay, so I just want to start from somewhere here to form the cowl, so the cowl falls well for us. Okay, I just need the cowl to form well. Okay, so this is the cowl shape. I'll now take it from there to the hem. I'll take it from there to the hem on a straight course. Alright, so I'm done, and I'll be showing you the cowl design. So you can see the cowl design right here. So it went all this way to the sleeve. Okay, so remember on your waistline, your waist divided by 4, add 3 inches to it, and you come up by 3 inches to connect your cowl shape. So I'm going to separate this front and back. We'll work on the back and then work on the front. So now I've separated my the two. So this is the back I want to work with. So I'll bring back my placket and I'll place it center front to center front. Okay, so I'll secure it with my pin right now on the center front line. Okay, so once I've secured it, I'll just go ahead and mark out this line. Okay, I'll mark out this line, just this 8 inches. Then I'm going to measure what I have from here to here. From here to here is 8 inches. I'll transfer it on this line. I'll transfer it on this line, 8 inches, and I'm going to draw a straight line on that line. Okay, so this is going to be where we are going to have our gathers or our pleats. So I'll just take off my pins and take off. So I've gotten what I want right here. So now, because we are going to sew 0.5, I'll mark in 0.5, 0.5. I'll just mark 0.5 in and out, and that is where I'm going to cut. So you come up by 0.5, so you'll be able to stitch accordingly. Okay, so I'm going to cut right now. So I'm cutting for the back. I'll cut here. Okay, so once I've cut at that point, then I'm going to make a notch here. Okay, so it will be easy for us to sew in the back. So I'll make a notch at this point. Can you see? So I'll gather on this line, gather, and then our placket will be sewn on the side. So I'll set it aside, then I'll bring back the front. All right, so I've brought the front now. So we are supposed to actually cut it together. Okay, we are supposed to cut them together. So if you are cutting yours, please ensure you cut it together, because I'm bringing it back now. For the front, I bring back what I have here. So it's the same thing we did for the front, we are going to do for the back, because the placket we are using here is also the same. It's the same measurement, 16 inches, unless you are making a separate measurement. Okay, so if your measurement is longer for the front, that is when you use the length of what you have here, okay, to measure the placket. But the width remains 8 inches, because that is the width of this dress. So I'll just go ahead now and cut this way for the back. So now I'm cutting what I have for the front and back as the same, because the length I have for the both plackets are the same. Okay, then I'll also make a notch. I'll take away the back and also make my notch, just a little 0.5 inch notch to enable you sew in. So we are done. We want to go sewing the plackets for front and back right away. So I will pick up the back first, or let me sew the front first. So this is our front, and this is the placket for the front. So you can see how we cut the placket. So I'll just go ahead now. First, I'm going to make my gathers, because the front has gathers, the back has pleats. So if you are working on the front first, ensure you make your gathers first. So I'll go ahead now. I'll gather this is the front, so I'll just go ahead and gather. So now I'm done gathering. As you can see, my gathers at the center line. So I bring in my placket now, and I'm going to sew. The folded part will be on the center front. So I'll just go ahead, place it this way, the two plackets, and I'm going to sew from beginning till I get to this point. I'll do the same for these two. All right, so now I've joined the both together. As you can see, I've joined them together. So I'm just going to top stitch right now. I'll flip the seams to the part of the fabric, and I'll just run a top stitch on it so it lays nice and flat. So all right, so now I'm done with my top stitches right now. So my two collars are laying flat now. So the next thing I'll do, I'll cross. I'm done sewing my plackets right now. So on the right placket, this one, I'm going to measure 3 inches. From here to here, I'll mark 3 inches. From this center front, 3 inches. Okay, so I want you to pay attention to how I'm going to place this, because as it stands now, you can see how it is. So I'm going to cross this way. Can you see? I'll cross it. You can see how I placed it. You will place it in as if you are making the V neckline. Okay, so this is it. You just cross it this way and secure with your pin at that point, but make sure that the tip of this touches the tip of this touches that 3 inches. So I crossed it this way on the neck line and secure that neckline with my pin. So you can see that. So that is how you are going to sew it. So I'll just go ahead now and I'm going to run my stitches. I'll just run my stitches on this line. Alright, so here I've sewn it. So like I said, you need to make it have that V. You have to align it to have that V before you sew. Okay, so I've sewn, although my stitches went this way. So but I'm going to lay this now. You can see how I turned the gathered parts. Remember, you have a notch which will enable you to sew this. So on this notch now, I'm going to sew or gather more and sew this way. So you can see how I'm going to sew it. Let me quickly do that. Right, people, so you can see my gathers have been neatly sewn on the waistline. Okay, so like I said, you need to align this to have that V line, okay, before you stitch. So if you align it when you are stitching, you will not have your stitches straight because that part is not supposed to be straight. You can see I have a stitch, this part because it lays this way, I have my stitch run here. So that is not a problem. We are using our appliques, okay? So that's why you see that appliques on the thumbnail of that dress. Applique, sorry, on the part of that dress. So now this part, you can see we have our pin is laying like right there. I'll also make a stitch and that will be covered by our applique too. So I'll just use my pin now to hold it down first. So we are done with the front. Next we are going to do now is to jump into the back. So for the back, I'll just come in with my back. This is my back and I'll take off my pins. So the first thing we are going to do before we sew the back back is to make our pleats. So I'm going to make my beautiful pleats right now, and I'm going to make it from center to center. Okay, I make a notch at the center. So whatever I do here, I'll also do here now. Okay, so I'm going to make my pleats to be exactly the measurement of what I have here. Here I have 3.5. So I'll make it 7 inches. That's 3.5 this way, 3.5 this way. Let me do that now. So here you should have 7 inches. Okay, so by the time you sew half an inch, everything matches up. So I'll just go ahead now. I'll start sewing from beginning. I'll sew from here to the end. So I'm done sewing the neckline. So the placket, you can see it right here, and I top stitched on it. So once you top stitch, every seam lays on this way and looks neat and beautiful for you. So I'm going to sew in the pleats right now. So to sew that, I'll just take it this way as usual, and with the notch you have here, you'll be able to sew and have a straight line. So you can see that I just follow this line and stitch. So I've sewn in the pleats right now on the lower piece. So this is the upper part of this dress and this is the lower part of this dress. You can actually make this the placket shorter. Okay, if you want to have more pleats, you can make it shorter. Like mine here, I have 7.5. Okay, or 7 inches, but it's like I didn't stitch my 0.5 complete. It's supposed to be 7 inches. Okay, so if you can make it 6 inches, if you want it smaller than this, but at least you have an idea of what we are talking about. So now the next thing I'll do is to place the front. This is the front part of it. I'll lay it this way, and I'm going to sew from the neckline right here. But first I'm going to create a facing. So let me quickly face this before we proceed. So to face this, I'll just use this same fabric to face. I'll face it right side to right side and secure with my pins. I want my facing at 3 inches or 3.5. Let me just do 3.5 to the point of this line. So I'll lift up my fabric now and I'm going to cut at that 3.5 I want my facing to be. I'll just go into the neckline, and once I get to this joining, I'll also do what? Cut it out as a straight line. So I have my facing right now. So I'll just bring out this facing now and I'll match it up together, neckline to neckline, and the facing width here, length is 3.5. So I'll just go ahead and do a curve at that 3.5, meeting the 3.5 I have here. So the 3.5 I have here, this is it at this point. So I'll just curve this like the facing we know. Okay, so I'll just go ahead now, open up the facing, sew it in, top stitch and make a notch. Now I've sewn in my my facing and I top stitched and made notches to it. So this is my facing. You can actually use same fabric. Okay, I even prefer you use same fabric for this facing, but I use this so you'll be able to see the facing. So I'll just go ahead and iron it this way so I don't need to see the facing. So once I'm done ironing right now, the next I will do is to bring in the front. I'll bring in the front, and this is the neckline. I'll start to sew the neckline. Okay, this is how it should be, right side to right side and front right side to right side. So from this point I have my facing. I'm going to sew from this point, can you see, and flip my facing this way and run everything together. So I would quickly do that to the end right now. I've joined the shoulders together, so this is what we have on the shoulder line, as you can see right there. So I will use my hemming gum to hold it here. Okay, so it lays nice and flat for me, or you can also fold and tack neatly. Okay, anyway you can finish it up nicely. So this is what the front looks like, can you see? So we'll be using our applique right here. I will top stitch here where I have my pin, or I can tack and use my applique to cover up there. So I will go over to the sleeves now. For the sleeve, I'll just open up 5 inches from here. So I'll turn it to the back, to the wrong side. I'll measure 5 inches to pass my my wrist. Okay, so it won't be the wrist, sorry, because we are making use of 3 yards. It won't get up to this point, it will be somewhere here. So I'll just take the measurement of what I have around my elbow line. So here I have 12 inches. So I'll measure 6 inches for my opening. So the two of them, when I pass my elbow, I have my 12 inches. So I'll sew it down to the end now, and we are done with this class. So right now I'm done sewing the sides and I've ironed it. You can see my sleeve. That is where I'm going to pass my sleeve, as you can see. So I've ironed everything, giving it a good press, as you can see. So this is my neckline. So on the neckline, on this part, I run a stitch. You can also run the stitch to the end, but because we are going to cover our appliques here, so I didn't even bother to go ahead running the stitch all through, as you can see. So this is the dress and we are done. So you can increase your abaya, okay, that is the part of the cowl. You can go down below the knee is your design, sorry, below the hip. From the hip I stepped up by 3 inches. You can connect to your hip, you can also connect below your hip, so it depends on how you want your drapes to drop. You can actually use 3.5 yards for this. You can use 4 yards, okay? If you want it to get to the wrist, you can make use of 4 yards. So thank you very much for coming to this tutorial. So if you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe, turn on your notification bell to receive videos like this every day. Like this video, share to family and friends, and drop your comments on the comment section and your suggestions as well. Thank you for coming. See you in the next one. Bye.